What looks like a peaceful farm life from the outside was hiding a journey filled with sacrifice, fear, and moments that nearly changed everything. Meredith Bernard, known to thousands as this farm wife, didn't just walk away from a comfortable career. She stepped into a life where every day brings uncertainty, from overwhelming challenges on the farm to a terrifying accident that shook her family to the core. Her story is far deeper than most viewers realize. But what really happened behind the camera? And how did one woman find the strength to keep going when life tested her the most? The truth is more emotional than anyone expected. Before thousands of people knew her as this farm wife, Meredith Bernard was living a completely different life. One that looked safe, predictable, and successful from the outside. She had a solid career in corporate sales, drove a company vehicle, and followed a path many would never dare to walk away from. But deep down, something didn't feel right. The comfort came with a quiet restlessness, like she was building a life that didn't truly belong to her. So, in 2013, Meredith made a decision that stunned the people around her. She walked away from that stability and chose the uncertainty of farm life in North Carolina, joining her husband Lawrence on their working cattle farm. There were no guarantees, no promise of easier days, just long hours, physical exhaustion, and a lifestyle completely dependent on things she couldn't control, like weather, markets, and the health of their animals. What many don't realize is that farm life isn't the slow, picture-perfect dream. Often seen online, it demands resilience. Early mornings turn into draining nights, and the work doesn't pause for sickness, bad moods, or tough seasons. Meredith didn't just change careers, she reshaped her entire identity. But just as she was settling into this new life, challenges began to surface. And what came next would test her strength in ways she never saw coming. If you spend even a few minutes watching Meredith Bernard, one thing becomes clear fast. What you see is exactly what you get. No polished TV-style production, no perfectly scripted moments, just real life unfolding on camera. As the creator behind this farm wife, Meredith invited viewers into a world many had never experienced before, turning everyday farm routines into stories people couldn't stop watching. But her channel didn't grow because farming is glamorous. It grew because Meredith chose honesty over perfection. She showed the messy kitchen after long work days, the exhaustion in her voice during difficult seasons, and the quiet victories that only farm families truly understand. Viewers weren't just subscribing for cattle updates or cooking videos, they were connecting with her. Balancing it all, however, was far from simple. While managing a demanding farm alongside her husband Lawrence, Meredith was also homeschooling their children and keeping the household running. The pressure to hold everything together could feel relentless, yet she rarely let the weight show for long. Instead, she spoke openly about perseverance, faith, and the importance of family. Themes that became the heartbeat of her platform. To many, she looked strong and steady, but strength doesn't mean life stops throwing obstacles your way. And soon, an unexpected moment would remind her just how fragile everything can be. Just when life on the farm seemed to find a rhythm, everything nearly changed in a single moment. Farming has always carried risk, but it's easy to forget how quickly an ordinary workday can turn into something terrifying. For Meredith and her family, that reality hit close to home when her husband, Lawrence, was involved in a serious farm accident that no one could have prepared for. Details weren't shared all at once, which only deepened the concern among viewers who had grown attached to their family. What was clear, however, was that the situation was frightening enough to shake the foundation of their daily lives. Suddenly, the routines that once felt exhausting now felt fragile. Because when someone you depend on gets hurt, everything else stops mattering. In moments like these, the strength Meredith often spoke about was no longer just inspiring advice. It became a necessity. The farm still needed attention, the children still needed stability, and the uncertainty of recovery brought emotional weight that few people ever see behind a camera. Yet instead of retreating completely, Meredith leaned into the support pouring in from her community. Messages, prayers, and encouragement reminded her that she wasn't facing the storm alone. But while the accident itself was overwhelming, it also sparked something unexpected. Whispers and assumptions that Meredith never asked for. After news of the accident spread, concern quickly turned into curiosity. And curiosity sometimes has a way of creating stories that aren't real. Online chatter began to grow, with some viewers quietly wondering if the sudden shift in Meredith's videos meant something deeper was happening behind the scenes. Were they facing more than just a physical recovery? Was the stress putting cracks in their marriage? The questions multiplied, even though Meredith herself never fueled the speculation. The truth is, when creators share their lives publicly, even small changes don't go unnoticed. A missed upload, a heavier tone, or time away from the camera can send audiences searching for answers. But Meredith handled the moment with a calm that spoke louder than any rumor. Rather than addressing every whisper, she kept her focus where it had always been, on her family, her faith, and the slow process of moving forward. What many people fail to understand is that hardship doesn't always look dramatic from the outside. Sometimes it shows up as quiet exhaustion, tough decisions, and the determination to stay strong for the people who rely on you. Meredith chose privacy over explanation, strength over noise, and while the rumors eventually faded, the experience left its mark because challenges like these don't just test a family, they reshape it. What carried Meredith through that heavy season wasn't just determination, it was faith. Not the kind spoken about only in easy moments, but the kind that steadies you when the future feels uncertain. Throughout her journey, Meredith has never hidden how deeply her beliefs guide her decisions, and during this chapter, that foundation became more important than ever. Instead of pretending everything was fine, she leaned into gratitude for the small wins, progress in recovery, supportive neighbors, and the simple gift of another ordinary day on the farm. Viewers began to notice that her videos weren't just about chores anymore. There was a deeper emotional layer woven into them. You could hear it in her voice and see it in the way she spoke about resilience. She wasn't trying to inspire anyone. She was simply living it. At the same time, her audience transformed into something more than subscribers. They became a community. Messages flooded in from people who had faced their own hardships, thanking her for showing that strength doesn't mean hiding your struggles. That connection quietly turned her channel into a place of comfort for many who needed it. But just as life seemed to settle again, a different kind of trouble emerged. One that had nothing to do with the farm, and everything to do with the risks of living in a digital world. Just when the Bernard family thought they had weathered the hardest storms, an unexpected threat appeared. And this time, it didn't come from the fields, the animals, or the unpredictability of farm life. It came from the internet. During efforts to help communities affected by severe weather, fake donation accounts began circulating online using Meredith's name and images. Scammers were attempting to trick kind-hearted people into sending money, believing they were supporting real relief efforts. For Meredith, the discovery was deeply unsettling. Not only was her identity being misused, but the generosity of her viewers, people who genuinely wanted to help when she was being targeted. It was a harsh reminder that even creators built on honesty and trust aren't immune to deception in the digital age. Rather than staying silent, warnings were shared so supporters wouldn't fall victim. The situation highlighted something many viewers had never considered. With visibility comes vulnerability. When your life is public, protecting your reputation becomes another battle to fight. Still, Meredith refused to let the incident define her or the community she had built. If anything, it reinforced why authenticity matters, because in a world full of noise, trust is everything. Yet through every trial, one question quietly lingered. What is it that keeps her moving forward when so many obstacles try to pull her back? After everything Meredith Bernard has faced, the physical dangers of farm life, emotional strain, public speculation, and even online deception, you might expect her to step back from sharing so much of her world. But instead, she's continued to show up, camera rolling, boots on the ground, choosing transparency in a time when many people would choose privacy. What truly sets Meredith apart isn't perfection, it's persistence. She never promised viewers an easy story, only a real one. Over the years, her platform has quietly evolved from simple farm updates into something much deeper. A reminder that strength often looks like ordinary people refusing to quit. Whether she's tackling another demanding day, laughing through the chaos, or speaking honestly about life's pressures, she represents a kind of resilience that can't be staged. And maybe that's why her story resonates with so many. In a world obsessed with highlight reels, Meredith shows the beauty inside, the struggle. The idea that hardship doesn't mean you're failing. Sometimes it means you're living bravely. Because when you strip everything else away, her journey isn't just about farming. It's about choosing courage when life gets unpredictable, and proving that even the quietest lives can carry the most powerful stories. When you look back at Meredith Bernard's journey, it becomes clear that her story was never meant to be a flawless picture of country life. It's a story about risk, reinvention, and the kind of courage that often goes unnoticed. She walked away from comfort to build something real, faced moments that could have shaken any family, and navigated challenges both on the farm and far beyond it, all while allowing the world a window into her life. What makes her path so compelling isn't dramatic headlines or constant chaos. It's the quiet resilience threaded through every chapter, the willingness to keep going after frightening setbacks, the strength to protect her family while living in the public eye, and the wisdom to understand that not every battle needs to be explained to be overcome. Meredith reminds us that behind every peaceful scene could be a story of perseverance most people never hear about. That sometimes the strongest people are the ones who simply refuse to give up even when the outcome is uncertain. So the next time you see a calm farm sunrise or hear her steady voice on camera, remember, you're not just watching farm life. You're witnessing a woman who chose bravery again and again, and in doing so, revealed that true strength is often built in the hardest seasons.